The unexpected request. The grand halls of the celestial palace echoed with hushed whispers and barely concealed shock. Princess Zara, heir to the astral throne of the Luminary Empire, had just dropped a bombshell that threatened centuries of tradition and interstellar politics. "I will travel on a human ship for my cosmic pilgrimage," she declared, her voice ringing through the stunned silence of the imperial court. Her 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern on her iridescent face, gleamed with determination. Chancellor Vex, his tendrils quivering with barely suppressed outrage, stepped forward. "Your Highness, with all due respect, this is unprecedented. The cosmic pilgrimage is a sacred tradition, meant to prepare you for your future role as Empress. It has always been undertaken on our most advanced imperial vessels, not on some primitive human craft." Zara's bioluminescent patterns flashed in annoyance. "Chancellor, need I remind you that the humans have achieved faster-than-light travel in less than a millennium? A feat that took our people nearly 10,000 years. If that's primitive, then perhaps we need to redefine our understanding of progress." Murmurs rippled through the court. Some nodded in agreement, while others bristled at the perceived slight to their technological superiority. Zara's mother, Empress Lyra, watched the exchange with a mixture of pride and concern. "Daughter," the Empress interjected, her voice soft but carrying the weight of ultimate authority, "your request is unusual, but perhaps there is wisdom in it. Tell us, why do you insist on this course of action?" Zara straightened, her chrome-like skin shimmering under the biophotonic lights of the palace. "Mother, esteemed members of the court, for too long we have viewed humans as a curiosity at best, a potential threat at worst. But in my studies, I've seen their potential. Their adaptability, their creativity, their sheer determination in the face of adversity. If I am to lead our empire into the future, I must understand not just our oldest allies, but also the rising powers in our galaxy. The humans are no longer a species we can ignore or dismiss." Chancellor Vex sputtered, "But Your Highness, the diplomatic implications alone." "Are precisely why this is necessary," Zara cut him off. "We've maintained a cold peace with the human territories for too long. This journey could be the first step towards genuine understanding and cooperation." Empress Lyra raised a hand, silencing the growing debate. "You speak with wisdom beyond your years, daughter. Very well. We shall make the necessary arrangements. But know this, your safety is paramount. You will be accompanied by an elite guard, and the human vessel must meet our stringent security requirements." Zara bowed, her gratitude evident in the pleased ripples of light coursing across her skin. "Thank you, Mother. I won't disappoint you." As the court dispersed, buzzing with excitement and trepidation, Zara allowed herself a small smile. The first battle was won, but she knew the real challenges lay ahead. Light years away, on the bustling spaceport orbiting Earth, Captain Elena Torres of the United Earth ship, Horizon's Call, stared at the communique in disbelief. "They want us to what?" she asked, certain she had misread the order. Her XO, Commander Raj Patel, nodded, his expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "It's confirmed, Captain. We've been selected to host the Luminary Princess for her cosmic pilgrimage. Apparently, she specifically requested a human ship." Elena ran a hand through her close-cropped hair, her mind racing. The Horizon's Call was a state-of-the-art exploration vessel designed for long-range missions into uncharted space. It was not, by any stretch of the imagination, designed to cater to alien royalty. "This is unprecedented," she muttered, echoing the sentiments of Chancellor Vex without realizing it. "Do we even have protocols for something like this?" Raj shrugged. "We're writing the book on this one, Captain, but think of the opportunities. This could be a major breakthrough in human-luminary relations." Elena nodded slowly, the implications starting to sink in. The Luminary Empire was one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations in known space. Notoriously isolationist, They had largely ignored humanity's expansion into the stars, viewing them as upstarts barely worth noticing. For a luminaried princess to not only acknowledge humans, but to insist on traveling with them, it was monumental. "All right," Elena said, straightening her uniform. "Let's make this happen. Raj, I want a full crew briefing in an hour. We need to prepare for every contingency, and get me everything we have on luminary customs, biology, and diplomatic protocols. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." As Raj hurried off to make the arrangements, Elena turned to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a young alien princess was preparing to step into their world, and somehow, against all odds, it fell to Elena and her crew to make sure this historic journey was a success. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The Horizon's call, usually a model of efficiency, was turned upside down as the crew scrambled to prepare for their royal guest. Environmental systems were recalibrated to match luminary atmospheric preferences. The ship's AI was updated with extensive cultural and linguistic databases. Even the menu in the mess hall underwent a complete overhaul to accommodate luminary dietary needs. Not everyone was thrilled with the assignment. Elena had overheard more than a few grumbles from crew members who viewed the luminary as arrogant and dismissive of humanity's achievements. She made a mental note to address these concerns before the princess arrived. The last thing they needed was a diplomatic incident caused by a resentful ensign. As the day of Princess Zara's arrival approached, Elena found herself standing in the newly refurbished guest quarters, running through a final inspection. The room was a blend of human and luminary aesthetics, clean lines and functional design interspersed with organic, bioluminescent elements that would make the princess feel at home. "Impressive work," came a voice from behind her. Elena turned to see Admiral Kensington, the gruff head of the United Earth Navy's diplomatic corps. He had arrived to oversee the final preparations and would be present for the official welcoming ceremony. "Thank you, sir," Elena replied. "We've done our best to anticipate the princess's needs." Kensington nodded, his expression serious. "This mission is more important than you can imagine, Captain. The Luminari have been a wild card in galactic politics for millennia. This could be our chance to finally establish meaningful dialogue." Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down." As they left the guest quarters, Elena's communicator chimed. It was Raj, his voice tight with excitement. "Captain, we've just received word. The Luminary Royal Shuttle has entered the solar system. They'll be docking with us in less than 2 hours." Elena took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "This is it, people. Let's make history." As the Horizon's call prepared to receive its unprecedented guest, neither Elena nor her crew could have imagined the adventures, dangers, and profound changes that lay ahead. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what would unfold when two vastly different cultures collided in the depths of space. Tensions and preparations. The docking bay of the Horizon's call buzzed with nervous energy as the crew made final preparations for Princess Zara's arrival. Captain Elena Torres stood at the forefront, her uniform crisp and her posture rigid. Behind her, our honor guard of both human and luminary representatives formed a striking tableau of interspecies cooperation, at least on the surface. "Final systems check," Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Commander Raj Patel's fingers danced across his datapad. Environmental controls functioning at optimal levels for luminary physiology. Security protocols are active and fully integrated with the luminary systems. "We're as ready as we'll ever be, Captain." Elena nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "Good work, Raj. Now we just have to hope our guest is as prepared for us as we are for her." As if on cue, a low hum filled the docking bay. The massive doors slowly parted, revealing the sleek, organic lines of the Luminary Royal Shuttle. It was a thing of beauty, seeming to flow like liquid metal as it glided into the bay. The shuttle settled onto the deck with barely a whisper, its surface rippling with bioluminescent patterns that spoke of advanced technology far beyond human understanding. For a moment, silence reigned as humans and Luminari alike held their breath in anticipation. Then, with a soft hiss, the shuttle's entrance spiraled open. Princess Zara stepped out, her chrome-like skin shimmering under the lights of the docking bay. Her four eyes swept the assembled crowd, taking in every detail with keen interest. Elena stepped forward, bowing slightly as she had been instructed. "Your Highness, welcome aboard the UES Horizons Call. I am Captain Elena Torres. It is an honor to have you with us." Zara's skin flickered with patterns of light, an expression of emotion that Elena couldn't quite decipher. "The honor is mine, Captain Torres," the princess replied, her voice melodious and slightly ethereal. "I look forward to learning much from you and your crew." As formalities were exchanged and introductions made, Elena couldn't help but notice the mixed reactions among her crew. Some watched the proceedings with barely concealed awe, while others seemed tense, almost hostile. One such individual was Lieutenant Marcus Graves, the ship's head of security. His eyes never left the Luminari guards that flanked Princess Zara, his hand hovering near his sidearm. Elena made a mental note to speak with him later. As the welcoming ceremony concluded and Princess Zara was escorted to her quarters, Elena found herself cornered by Admiral Kensington. "Impressive start, Captain," he muttered, keeping his voice low. "But don't let your guard down. We've received intelligence suggesting that not everyone back on the Luminary homeworld is happy about this arrangement. Keep your eyes open for any irregularities." Elena's brow furrowed. "Understood, Admiral. We'll remain vigilant." As Kensington moved away, Elena caught sight of Raj speaking animatedly with one of the Luminari attendants. His eyes were wide with excitement as the alien demonstrated some piece of technology. At least someone was embracing the spirit of cultural exchange, she thought. Later that evening, as the Horizons Call prepared to break orbit and begin its journey, Elena called a meeting of her senior staff. "All right, people," she began, looking around the conference room. "I know this mission is unlike anything we've undertaken before. I've seen the looks, heard the whispers. So let's address the elephant in the room. Thoughts, concerns, let's hear them." For a moment, silence reigned. Then Lieutenant Graves spoke up, his voice tight. "With all due respect, Captain, are we sure this isn't some kind of Luminari ploy? They've looked down on us for centuries, and now suddenly they want to play nice." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Elena held up a hand for silence. "I understand your concerns, Lieutenant, but this mission isn't just about the Luminari princess. It's about showing who we are as a species. Our strength, our adaptability, our willingness to extend a hand in friendship even to those who may have doubted us in the past." She paused, making eye contact with each officer in turn. "We have an opportunity here to change the course of interstellar relations. To prove that humanity deserves a seat at the galactic table, I expect each and every one of you to rise to this challenge. Is that clear?" A chorus of "Yes, Captain" echoed through the room, though Elena noted that some responses were more enthusiastic than others. As the meeting adjourned, Raj lingered behind. "Captain, there's something else you should know," he said, his expression troubled. "I've been analyzing some unusual communication patterns between the Luminari shuttle and an unknown source. It could be nothing, but..." Elena's eyes narrowed. "But it could be something. Good catch, Raj. Keep monitoring the situation, but keep it quiet for now. The last thing we need is to start an interstellar incident over a misunderstanding." As Raj left, Elena turned to the viewport, watching as the blue marble of Earth slowly receded. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were embarking on a journey far more complex and dangerous than any of them realized. Meanwhile, in her quarters, Princess Zara stood before a holographic display, her four eyes taking in the swirling data streams. Her skin pulsed with patterns of concern and determination. "The humans suspect nothing," came a voice from the hologram. "Our agents are in place. When the time comes, we will strike, and the arrogance of both the Empire and these upstart humans will be laid bare. Zora's bioluminescence flickered with a mix of emotions. Understood, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But remember, no harm must come to the humans. They are not our enemy. As you wish, Your Highness, the voice replied, a note of skepticism evident. But remember your duty to the true future of our people. As the hologram faded, Zara turned to gaze out at the stars. She had set in motion events that could reshape the galaxy. Now she could only hope that she was strong enough to control the forces she had unleashed. Back on the bridge, Captain Elena Torres gave the order that would change everything. Helm, engage faster-than-light drive. Let's see what the universe has in store for us. The horizon's call shimmered and stretched, then vanished in a burst of light, carrying its diverse crew and royal passenger into the unknown. Little did they know that their greatest challenges and most astonishing discoveries lay just ahead. The journey begins. The horizon's call sliced through the fabric of space-time, its faster-than-light drive humming with barely contained power. On the bridge, Captain Elena Torres watched the swerving patterns of hyperspace dance across the main view screen, a sight that never failed to fill her with awe. "Status report," she called out, her eyes never leaving the hypnotic display. Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka, the ship's science officer, responded promptly. "All systems functioning within normal parameters, Captain. Our course remains stable, and we should reach the Andromeda Nexus in approximately 72 hours. Elena nodded, satisfied. The Andromeda Nexus, a bustling hub of interstellar commerce and diplomacy, would be their first major stop on this unprecedented journey. It would also be Princess Zora's first true test in navigating the complex web of galactic politics outside the sheltered confines of the Luminary Empire. Speaking of the princess, Commander Patel, how is our royal guest settling in?" Raj consulted his datapad. According to her attendants, the princess is adapting well to life aboard a human vessel. She's expressed particular interest in our recreational facilities and has requested a tour of the engineering section. Elena raised an eyebrow. "Engineering? Interesting. Well, let's oblige her. Arrange for Chief Engineer Dr. Zara Okoro to give the princess a tour at her convenience. But make sure Lieutenant Graves is informed. I want security discreet but present." As Raj moved to carry out her orders, Elena couldn't shake a nagging feeling of unease. The ship had been underway for nearly 48 hours, and while there had been no overt problems, there was a tension in the air that seemed to grow with each passing moment. Her concerns were interrupted by a sudden commotion from the crew lounge adjacent to the bridge. Rising quickly, Elena made her way to investigate, Raj close on her heels. The scene that greeted them was one of barely contained chaos. A group of off-duty human crew members were engaged in a heated argument with several of the Luminary guards. At the center of it all stood Princess Zara, her skin flickering rapidly with patterns that Elena interpreted as distress and confusion. "What is the meaning of this?" Elena's voice cut through the din, silencing everyone instantly. Lieutenant Graves, who had apparently been trying to defuse the situation, stepped forward. "Captain, it seems there was a misunderstanding. Crewman Chen here." He gestured to a young engineer whose face was flushed with anger. "Made a comment about luminary technology that the princess's guards found offensive." Princess Zora's melodious voice interjected. "It was not the comment itself, Captain, but the implication behind it. Your crewman suggested that luminary advancements were the result of theft and mimicry, rather than our own innovations." Elena's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the group. "I see. Crewman Chen, report to my ready room in 10 minutes. The rest of you, back to your duties. This is not how we conduct ourselves on this ship, especially not in front of our honored guest." As the crowd dispersed, Elena turned to Princess Zara. "Your Highness, I apologize for this incident. I assure you it does not reflect the views of this crew or the United Earth government." Zara's skin rippled with what Elena had come to recognize as a sign of contemplation. "No apologies necessary, Captain. In fact, I find this," Openness refreshing. In my father's court, such thoughts would never be expressed so boldly. It gives me hope for genuine dialogue between our peoples. Elena blinked, surprised by the princess's response. I thank you for your understanding, Your Highness. If there's anything we can do to make your stay more comfortable, please don't hesitate to ask. As Zara and her guards departed, Raj leaned in close to Elena. Captain, I've been monitoring the ship's systems as you requested. There have been some anomalies, minor power fluctuations, intermittent sensor ghosts. Nothing serious, but enough to be concerning, Elena finished for him. Keep a close eye on it, Raj, and let's speed up those security sweeps. I want to know if we've got any uninvited guests on board. Later, in the privacy of her ready room, Elena faced a contrite crewman Chen. The young woman stood at attention, her eyes fixed on a point just over Elena's shoulder. Crewman, do you understand the gravity of your actions? Elena's voice was stern but not unkind. Yes, Captain. I let my personal feelings interfere with my duty. It won't happen again. Elena sighed, leaning back in her chair. See that it doesn't, but I'm more interested in understanding where those feelings came from. Talk to me, Chen. What's really going on? Chen hesitated, then her words came in a rush. It's just, the Luminari have looked down on us for so long, treated us like we're barely out of the Stone Age, and now we're supposed to roll out the red carpet for them. It doesn't feel right. Elena nodded slowly. I understand your frustration, but consider this, the princess chose to be here, on a human ship, when she could have traveled in the lap of luxury on one of her own vessels. That says something, don't you think? Chen's eyes widened slightly as she considered this. I hadn't thought of it that way, Captain. That's why we're out here, Chen. To learn to grow, to challenge our preconceptions. The universe is vast, and we're all just trying to find our place in it. Dismissed. As Chen left, Elena turned to her viewport, watching the streaks of light that signified their faster-than-light travel. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were hurtling, not just through space, but towards a crossroads in human luminary relations. Meanwhile, deep in the bowels of the ship, in a rarely used maintenance shaft, a shadowy figure huddled over a strange device. Its fingers, too long and sinuous to be human, danced over the alien controls. Phase 1 is complete, it whispered into the device. The seeds of discord have been planted. Soon, very soon, we will show both humans and Luminari the true path to galactic dominance. The figure melted back into the shadows just as a security team passed by, oblivious to the danger lurking in their midst. As the Horizon's Call continued its journey towards the Andromeda Nexus, the stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of interstellar politics and challenge the very notion of what it meant to be a galactic civilization. The true test for Princess Zara, Captain Elena, and their respective peoples was about to begin, uncovering the plot. The Horizon's Call dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a subtle shudder, the swirling patterns of hyperspace on the view screen giving way to a breathtaking vista of the Andromeda Nexus. The massive space station hung against a backdrop of swirling nebulae and glittering stars, its numerous docking arms extending like the petals of a metallic flower. Captain Elena Torres allowed herself a moment to appreciate the view before turning to her crew. All right, people, this is our first major stop. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Commander Patel, begin docking procedures. As the crew bustled with activity, Elena couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. The minor glitches Rage had reported earlier had escalated over the past day. Nothing critical, but enough to set her nerves on edge. Her thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Princess Zara on the bridge. The Luminari royal skin shimmered with excitement as she took in the spectacle of the Nexus. Magnificent, Zara breathed, her 4 eyes wide with wonder. I studied the Nexus in holograms, but to see it in person. Elena smiled, struck by how young the princess suddenly seemed. It never gets old, Your Highness. The Nexus is a testament to what we can achieve when different species work together. Zara turned to Elena, her expression suddenly serious. "Captain, I wonder if I might have a word with you in private before we dock." Intrigued, Elena nodded. "Of course, my ready room is at your disposal." Once inside the privacy of the captain's ready room, Zara's demeanor changed. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what Elena had come to recognize as anxiety. "Captain," Zara began, her voice low, "I fear I haven't been entirely forthcoming with you about the nature of my journey." Elena's posture stiffened. "Go on, Your Highness." Zara's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "My insistence on traveling aboard a human vessel wasn't just about cultural exchange. I received information suggesting that there are factions within both our governments working to sabotage any chance of lasting peace between our peoples." Elena's mind raced. This explained the strange occurrences, the underlying tension. "And you believe these factions have agents aboard my ship?" Zara nodded. "I'm almost certain of it, but I don't know who they are or what exactly they're planning. I had hoped to uncover more during our journey, but..." She trailed off, her skin flickering with frustration. Uncovering the plot. The Horizon's call dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a subtle shudder, the swirling patterns of hyperspace on the view screen giving way to a breathtaking vista of the Andromeda Nexus. The massive space station hung against a backdrop of swirling nebulae and glittering stars, its numerous docking arms extending like the petals of a metallic flower. Captain Elena Torres allowed herself a moment to appreciate the view before turning to her crew. "All right, people, this is our first major stop. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Commander Patel, begin docking procedures." As the crew bustled with activity, Elena couldn't shake a sense of foreboding. The minor glitches Rage had reported earlier had escalated over the past day. Nothing critical, but enough to set her nerves on edge. Her thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Princess Zara on the bridge. The luminary royal skin shimmered with excitement as she took in the spectacle of the Nexus. "Magnificent," Zara breathed, her 4 eyes wide with wonder. "I've studied the Nexus in holograms, but to see it in person..." Elena smiled, struck by how young the princess suddenly seemed. "It never gets old, Your Highness. The Nexus is a testament to what we can achieve when different species work together." Zara turned to Elena, her expression suddenly serious. "Captain, I wonder if I might have a word with you in private before we dock." Intrigued, Elena nodded. "Of course, my ready room is at your disposal." Once inside the privacy of the captain's ready room, Zara's demeanor changed. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what Elena had come to recognize as anxiety. "Captain," Zara began, her voice low, "I feel I haven't been entirely forthcoming with you about the nature of my journey." Elena's posture stiffened. "Go on, Your Highness." Zara's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "My insistence on traveling aboard a human vessel wasn't just about cultural exchange. I received information suggesting that there are factions within both our governments working to sabotage any chance of lasting peace between our peoples." Elena's mind raced. This explained the strange occurrences, the underlying tension. "And you believe these factions have agents aboard my ship?" Zara nodded. "I'm almost certain of it, but I don't know who they are or what exactly they're planning. I had hoped to uncover more during our journey, but..." She trailed off, her skin flickering with frustration. Crisis in deep space. Captain Elena Torres and Princess Zara raced through the docking tube, connecting the Andromeda Nexus to the Horizon's call, their footsteps echoing in the enclosed space. The ship's exterior looked peaceful, but both knew that appearances could be deceiving. As they approached the airlock, Elena's communicator crackled to life. "Captain," Rage's voice came through, tense and fragmented. "We've managed to..." "Partial systems, but the saboteurs..." "Engineering section." "Understood, Commander," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We're coming aboard now. Initiate security protocol Beta 7. The airlock cycled open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow throughout the ship, and the usual hum of systems was replaced by an unsettling silence. This way, Elena whispered to Zara, drawing her sidearm, "We need to get to the bridge." As they moved through the ship, Elena couldn't help but marvel at Zara's composure. The princess moved with a fluid grace, her four eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. It was clear that her royal upbringing had included more than just diplomatic training. They were halfway to the bridge when a figure emerged from a side passage. Elena raised her weapon, but quickly lowered it when she recognized Lieutenant Graves. "Captain," Graves said, his voice low and urgent. "Thank God you're back. We've got hostiles in engineering and on the command deck. They're using some kind of advanced tech to override our systems." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Any idea who they are?" Graves shook his head. "Negative. They're using scrambler tech to mask their identities. But they're good, Captain. Really good." Zara's skin flickered with a pattern that Elena had come to recognize as deep thought. This level of coordination, it can't just be a fringe group. This has to go higher. Elena nodded grimly. "Agreed, but right now, we need to focus on regaining control of the ship. Graves, what's our tactical situation?" As Graves began to outline their options, a sudden explosion rocked the ship. The deck beneath their feet shuddered, and warning klaxons began to blare. "That came from engineering," Graves shouted over the noise. Without hesitation, Elena made a decision. Change of plans. We're heading to engineering. If we lose the power core, we lose everything. The trio raced through the corridors, the ship groaning and shuddering around them. As they neared engineering, they could hear the sounds of a firefight, the distinctive whine of energy weapons mixed with the sharper reports of human firearms. Elena held up a hand, signaling for silence. She peered around the corner into engineering, and what she saw made her blood run cold. A group of figures in advanced combat suits were engaged in a standoff with a handful of crew members, led by Chief Engineer Okoro. But it wasn't the firefight that caught Elena's attention. It was what the intruders were doing to the ship's power core. "They're not trying to destroy it," Elena whispered. "They're modifying it somehow." Zara's eyes widened in recognition. That's precursor technology. But how? That level of tech has been lost for millennia. Before Elena could respond, one of the intruders turned, spotting them. In an instant, the firefight expanded to include their position. "Cover me," Elena shouted, diving towards a nearby console. If she could just reach it, she might be able to trigger the emergency shutdown sequence. Graves laid down suppressing fire while Zara, to Elena's surprise, produced a small device from within her robes. With a flick of her wrist, it expanded into an energy shield, deflecting incoming fire. Elena's fingers flew over the console, bypassing security protocols and diving deep into the ship's core systems. She could see what the intruders were trying to do now. They were attempting to turn the Horizon's core into some kind of massive energy weapon. With a final command, Elena triggered the shutdown sequence. The power core's hum began to die down, and the intruders' modifications sputtered and failed. "No," one of the intruders shouted, their voice distorted by their helmet. "Do you have any idea what you've done? This was our only chance to unite the galaxy against the true threat." Before Elena could demand answers, the intruder pressed a button on their suit. In a flash of light, they and their companions vanished, some kind of emergency teleportation device. As the dust settled and security teams swarmed into engineering, Elena turned to Zara. The princess's skin was pulsing with a mix of relief and concern. "I think," Elena said slowly, "we've just scratched the surface of something much bigger than either of us imagined." Zara nodded, her four eyes meeting Elena's gaze. "Captain, I believe it's time I told you the whole truth about why I really came on this journey, and about the ancient threat that my people have been preparing for in secret for generations." As alarms continued to blare and crew members worked to restore systems, Elena and Zara found a quiet corner. The fate of not just their two species, but perhaps the entire galaxy hung on what would be said next. "Tell me everything," Elena said, her voice quiet but firm. And as Zara began to speak, weaving a tale of ancient warnings, hidden preparations, and a threat from beyond the stars, Elena realized that their journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The Horizon's call drifted in space, damaged but not defeated, and aboard her, two leaders from vastly different worlds prepared to face a challenge that would redefine the very nature of galactic civilization. Triumph of Unity. The observation deck of the Horizon's call was eerily quiet, the usual bustle of crew activity replaced by the soft hum of emergency systems. Captain Elena Torres stood before the viewport, her reflection ghostly against the backdrop of stars. Beside her, Princess Zara's crone-like skin shimmered with subdued bioluminescence, a visual representation of the gravity of their conversation. "The precursors," Zara continued, her melodious voice tinged with urgency. "They didn't just disappear, Captain. They fled from something so terrifying, so incomprehensible, that they chose to abandon this galaxy entirely." Elena's brow furrowed. "And your people have known about this? For how long?" "Millennia," Zara admitted. "We discovered fragments of their warning systems, encoded in the very fabric of subspace. We've been preparing, building our defenses, searching for allies strong enough to stand with us when the time comes. And you think that time is now?" Elena asked, her mind racing with the implications. Zara's skin pulsed with affirmation. "The signs are aligning. The intruders who attacked us, they're part of a pan-species organization called the Vanguard. They believe the only way to survive is to unite the galaxy by force, using recovered precursor technology as a weapon." Elena shook her head, a wry smile touching her lips. "Unite us by starting a war. There's a certain twisted logic to it." "Indeed," Zara agreed, "but it's a flawed strategy. Division will only weaken us when the true threat arrives." Before Elena could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. "Captain," Rage's voice came through, tense but controlled. "Long-range sensors are picking up something big, and it's heading straight for us." Elena and Zara exchanged a look of understanding. "On our way," Elena replied, already moving towards the bridge. The scene that greeted them was one of controlled chaos. Crew members worked feverishly at their stations, while the main view screen showed a massive object approaching at impossible speeds. "What are we looking at?" Elena demanded, taking her place at the command chair. Lieutenant Commander Tanaka's fingers flew over her console. It's like nothing we've ever encountered, Captain. Energy readings are off the charts. It's not using any known form of propulsion." Zara stepped forward, her four eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "It's them," she whispered. "The threat the precursors fled from. They're here." As if in response to her words, the object on the view screen seemed to shift, its form twisting in ways that defied the laws of physics. Tendrils of dark energy began to reach out towards the Horizon's call. "Evasive maneuvers," Elena shouted. "Get us out of here." But even as the words left her mouth, she knew it was futile. Whatever this entity was, it was beyond their ability to escape. Suddenly, the ship shuddered, caught in some kind of energy field. The lights flickered, and for a moment, it seemed as if reality itself was bending around them. And then silence. Elena blinked, disoriented. The bridge was intact, her crew unharmed, but something was different. The stars outside the viewport had changed position, and a quick glance at the navigation console confirmed her suspicion. They had been moved, instantaneously transported across vast distances of space. Before anyone could react, the view screen flickered to life of its own accord. The image that appeared was unlike anything Elena had ever seen, a being of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and changing. "We are the Axiom," a voice resonated, not through the ship's speakers, but directly in their minds. "We have watched, we have waited, and now we judge." Elena stood, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. We mean you no harm. We are peaceful explorers. We know what you are, the Axiom interrupted. We have observed your kind, human and luminary alike, for eons. Your potential is great, but so too is your capacity for destruction. Zara stepped forward, her skin pulsing with determination. Then judge us not by our past, but by our willingness to change, to grow, to unite in the face of challenges greater than ourselves. The energy being seemed to pause, considering. Pretty words, young one. But words alone are not enough. We require proof. Suddenly, Elena's mind was flooded with images, visions of possible futures, of choices to be made. She saw worlds burning, civilizations crumbling, but also glimpses of hope, of unity, of a galaxy working together to achieve wonders beyond imagination. The choice is yours, the Axiom intoned. Prove yourselves worthy of existence or be unmade. You have one planetary rotation to decide. With that, the being vanished, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Elena turned to her crew, seeing the fear and uncertainty in their eyes. But she also saw determination, courage, and the unbreakable spirit that had carried humanity to the stars. Well, she said, a smile tugging at her lips despite the gravity of the situation, I'd say this qualifies as a first contact situation. Let's make it count. Over the next hours, Elena, Zara, and the crew of the Horizons Call worked tirelessly. They reached out to their respective governments, to the Vanguard, to every species and faction they could contact. The message was clear: unite or perish. As the deadline approached, Elena stood once more on the observation deck, Zara by her side. The Axiom's massive form loomed before them, a silent reminder of the choice they faced. Do you think we've done enough? Zara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elena took a deep breath. I don't know. But I do know this: whatever happens, we face it together. Not as humans or luminary, or any other single species, but as representatives of all sentient life in this galaxy. As if on cue, the view screen lit up. But this time, it wasn't just the Axiom. Hundreds, thousands of ships appeared, vessels of every size and design, representing every known species in the galaxy, and some Elena had never seen before. A chorus of voices filled the bridge, all saying the same thing in countless languages: we stand together. The Axiom's form seemed to pulse with something akin to approval. You have chosen wisely, it communicated. The trial is not over, it has only begun. But you have taken the first step on a long journey. We will be watching. With that, the massive entity began to fade, becoming one with the starfield around it. As cheers erupted across the ship and across the gathered fleet, Elena felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Zara, the princess's skin glowing with joy and hope. What now, Captain? Zara asked, her 4 eyes sparkling with the reflected light of 1,000 stars. Elena grinned, feeling the weight of the past few days lift from her shoulders. Now we do what we do best. We explore, we learn, and we grow, together. As the Horizons Call took its place among the assembled fleet, Elena knew that they stood on the brink of a new era. The challenges ahead would be great, but for the first time in galactic history, they would face them as a united front. The journey that had begun with an alien princess insisting on traveling on a human ship had led to the dawn of a new age, and as Elena gave the order to set course for home, she couldn't help but feel that the true adventure was just beginning. The stars stretched out before them, infinite in their promise, as humanity, the luminary, and countless other species took their first steps towards a shared destiny among the cosmos.